Hey everybody, it's Maria, and while I don't feel great and I haven't been reading a lot of books with some beautiful language, I did read a couple books in the last week that I wanted to share with you that were really impactful as far as how I thought about life. One of the major reasons that I read is to kind of change my viewpoints on things, and I really appreciated that these books did that for me. So I will first share Text Me When You Get Home by Kayleen Schaefer. This is the Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship. I really love this book. I read it pretty much in a day. I ended up wanting to call and write letters to all my girlfriends afterwards because it was just a beautiful tribute to what the sisterhood is, not only for feminists, just how we all stick together. Her argument is that while a lot of media would make you feel like women are cat fighters and infighters and fight with each other all the time, whether it's highlighting a celebrity feud on one thing, for the most part, women are a sisterhood of solidarity and encouragement for one another. It gives several different examples of pop culture, Parks and Rec, Galentine's Day. She also talks about Big Little Lies and kind of the collaboration that went on there with Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman. There's so many different examples of strong females who don't knock each other down and don't feel like they have to, but build one another up. I'm always telling my kids that if you have to knock somebody down, it's because you feel like you're not built up enough yourself. And there's enough room in this world for everyone to feel valuable. This is what this argues. And I really love that. The idea behind Text Me When You Get Home is that women, a lot of times, we are always like, oh, text me when you get home. Let me know how it goes. We are always kind of following up with one another. We have that consistent relational, bond that makes us continually check up on one another. You don't really hear guys say to each other, text me when you get home. Part of that is because we are a little bit more vulnerable sometimes. I remember in college, several of my girlfriends, whenever we went out for a run, we're always like, okay, show me how you're holding your key. And we just things that come naturally to women to constantly to just know to protect ourselves, and to remind other women to protect themselves. It's just one of those things that, I don't know, evolution or whatever, it's been ingrained in us for a long time. So I really loved that. I loved the pop culture references. It also had some history references in there, talks about the Boston marriages, whether some of them are lesbian or not. There are so many examples of women who decided that they wanted to go at life together instead of by themselves, and how valuable that was. Now, it was interesting reading it from my perspective, because if one were to look at my demographic on a survey and not know me, they would think, oh, she got married at age 22. She's 3 kids. She's decided to stay home and homeschool. She is a Christian. I think a lot of times people might automatically put me in the box that says, I think that is what everybody needs to do. That is not my box. I don't like being in boxes, but that is definitely not my box. I have chosen to stay home and homeschool my kids because I really appreciate learning, and I want to provide an engaging and exciting hands-on opportunity for them to learn in. My husband's really supportive of that. He'd also be supportive if I decided to go and work. I remember when I went to an academically accelerated high school, and somebody asked me once, what do you want to do when you have kids? And I said, well, I'd like to homeschool them. And he just kind of gave me this horrible look, why would you bother with such an education if you were going to homeschool? And I was like, well, I don't want to be a stupid homeschooler. I want to know things. And I think a lot of times people feel like you have to be in one box or the other, or that an education is wasted if you choose to stay home with your kids. And the value of feminism is that we don't have to make that decision. She did not attack people who have made more traditional choices. She just came at it from her point of view. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to read, because I'm always telling my girlfriends, make the right choice for you. I have a girlfriend who is making horrible decisions right now, and she'll call and say, I need you to tell me the things that you've been telling me for the last 50 times, even though it's the same thing, and I'm probably not going to listen again. I mean, women hold each other accountable. We do not BS when it comes to you're screwing things up right now, but we're also very encouraging when we think somebody's doing a good job. I have another friend who, yeah, I'm like, you're not alone. We've got this. Like, I think there's so many examples that women can have of the solidarity, the sisterhood. So I just really appreciate this book. It was a great look at women, and I think even though I know that from my own personal experience of the women that I choose to associate with, are nothing but encouraging. They are never ones for body shaming or even saying, I went to, one of my kids are on the swim team, and I went to an event a couple of months ago, and there were all these women talking around about how big they'd gotten or how fat they were. And this has happened a couple of different times with the same group of people. And it is so jarring for me to be in a group of women that is complaining about their bodies, because I have not surrounded myself with those women. The women that I often am with are the ones that say, oh, how are you feeling? Are you feeling healthy? Like, good for you. Like, that is what we care about. And it is such a strange experience to be in a environment where they're not necessarily saying each other is bad, but they're saying, oh, well, you're so skinny, or you're so like, but it's not in like a affirmative way. It's saying that they are not. And I think a lot of times women feel like we have to say that we are not, so they must be, or that they are not, so we must be. There's enough room in the world for everybody to be awesome. So anyway, I just really, if you are a woman and you have been thinking about these kinds of things or want to think more about these things, she also talks about how she didn't used to have very many female friendships and how she kind of developed them. So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. But yeah, the media oftentimes portrays women as mean to each other. And while that happens sometimes, I don't think that is our overall experience. So I really recommend this one. The next one is John Lewis's Across That Bridge: Life Lessons and a Vision for Change. This is the same John Lewis who is the congressman who wrote the March Trilogy, which is so good. Very active in the civil rights movement. He was one of MLK Jr.'s friends. I really appreciate this book, and especially the chapter on patience, for a lot of reasons. First of all, I'm a mom, and patience is super hard. I'm always telling the kids the same thing over and over and over, but they eventually learn it, but I have to do the same thing over and over and over. Same thing with civil rights. He talks about how not only did they have to prepare and train to be in these situations, to maintain eye contact, to humanize themselves, to constantly put themselves in horrible scenarios so that when they got to that moment where they were in danger, they knew how to act because it was second nature to them. Patience. He talks about in here, there's a quote where he's talking about how while one-day marches are very valuable, that's not what creates consistent change, opportunity for education for legislators who are on the fence. The things that creates change are those day-to-day, monotonous, incessant, persistent, over and over actions that reminds legislators who they are working for, and that we aren't going to stop. And I think that was what I needed to hear, because I'm so bad at consistency, and I'm so bad at being patient, but I did get a lot of beautiful postcards to mail off to representatives and senators, just so I can get in the habit of just constantly doing that. I've been trying to call at least once or twice a week just to do something, because yeah, I know one-day marches are amazing, and you get that rush and you get that excitement from being a part of one-day things, but those are not the things that change overall. I am really excited about the gun control stuff that's happening, and I wish the kids the best with the march. But I'm going to be doing the consistent, boring, monotonous change that John Lewis is advocating as well. So anyway, that is what I've read lately that has really shifted my perspective. I would love to hear in the comments below if there's something that you've read that has really shifted your perspective on something, whether it made you appreciate something or think about how you were doing something. Reading is great because it can change our minds. in a very non-threatening way. So I will talk to you all later. My 3-year-old just woke up. Bye.